Greetings. This is the Residential Construction Schedule Assignment. The function of a construction schedule is to provide the entire team of contractors, everyone in the company, the entire company, a timetable for when the various tasks on the project need to be started and completed. It helps them manage their resources, such as equipment and personnel, of course, managing specialty equipment when these things need to be rented and brought on, if they're being shared among various crews. And the effect or the desired outcome, of course, is having crews that are more organized, they know what's going on, they're more productive, and it just produces profitable and safe results. A Gantt chart is a very simple form of a construction schedule. It represents project tasks on phases on a horizontal timeline. So here, these horizontal bars represent the amount of time that each of the tasks listed here on the left-hand column represent. Provides an easy to understand picture of a project schedule and task relationships. So that's the key part there, the relationships between these different tasks, what needs to happen in what order. So looking quickly at this one, these are just some examples of charts that I found online. I have no idea what project they're from, but visually they were pretty clear, so I just want to take a quick look at them. So starting with clearing the site, then we move into foundations. Then we have utilities, slab, taking the forms off for the foundations. So all of this down here is foundation work, obviously. Then we're moving up to the structure, putting the roof on it. Then we start on the exterior of the structure. After the sheathing, of course, we put on the brick. Then we're also framing partitions inside, installing doors and windows. Then we have the interior finishes, which also involve painting, placing the fixtures and equipment, and then wrapping things up. So in general, a short but I guess adequate schedule for some projects. The one thing I highlighted right over here, and a definition that I wanted to bring into the mix right away here, is the building envelope. So just to define it here, is the physical separator between the interior and exterior of a building. So the building envelope is essentially what keeps the heat in and the cold out. So it's everything that separates the conditioned space inside, conditioned being air conditioning and heating, and outside is unconditioned. Also, sheds, for instance, garages, unconditioned, typically not heated and air conditioned. Not without exception, but typically not. So, the building envelope separates the conditioned space from the not conditioned. So, it's an important milestone in schedules. And what I was looking at right here was questioning, are they really beginning to work on interior finishes before they finish that building envelope? Without the doors and the windows in, the building envelope's not complete. So I was wondering if these two things could actually happen at the same time. Otherwise, I thought it was pretty reasonable, and that's one thing that's always of interest, is when are more than one person working, or not one person, more than one different crew working at the same time. So here we have a crew that clears the site. When that's 100% complete, then we start forming the foundations. Those two have, here we have a slight overlap. They're beginning to work on the utilities at the same time they're forming the foundation. Makes sense, they wouldn't be in each other's way. Here it appears that slab casting begins only after the utilities are in place. That makes sense. Then that is complete and we remove the forms, and so on down the line. I'm not going to run through every procedure, but just wanted to take a quick look and begin to give a sense of what these shape up to be. So let's take a look at another example. Here, a more simple one. So looking down the left-hand lane column here, we have planning, design, permits, purchasing, foundations, electrical, plumbing, interior, landscape. So much more simplified, doesn't really describe a project very much at all to me. Has some exterior landscape going on and then some utilities in the middle. What's strange about this, or I might throw up a red flag or ask some questions, are the large gaps. Why so much, a little bit of planning is done and then we take a big break. Let's see where we're starting here. We're, I guess, in the end of 2010, and we're taking this later into 2011. So large break here, then we do our design work, then we take another break, then we get permits, take another break. The only time when there's any overlap is right here between foundation and electric. So kind of peculiar, a little more stretched out than it appears. Again, I'm just looking at schedules for projects that I obviously don't know anything about, but just reading them regardless. Here's a nice one. So this one would have been done in Microsoft Project. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I definitely don't want to delve into the finer points of scheduling. That's one thing it's beyond the scope of this class, but what I'm interested in, what I'm definitely getting at, is the sequence of the tradesmen that come in and when things could overlap. So before embarking on our journey down through all the different trades and materials, I kind of wanted to look at it holistically. So let's look at this one here. So here we see a much more complex relationship between the times where they start and where they finish. We have our priorities labeled. We have very high priorities here with closing the roof, covering up the roof so that things are waterproof below. Big step in closing up that envelope. Looking down, very high. Floor finishing and polishing. So nothing inside could happen until that's done. Very important as well. One more down the line. Internal partitions need to be complete. My guess is we can't finish the ceilings and whatever other finish work remains. So a nicely detailed, gives specific days, the durations of everything, and just let's run down the left line quickly. So we start off with some demolition. So there's some existing structure, something happening. We prep this site. Cast in place reinforced piles, so foundation work happening, excavation, foundation, reinforced concrete formwork, steel formwork. So all of this is really concrete and site. We finish up that roof that needed to happen. Then we have a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and systems happening here in the middle. Then we wrap up the floor, very important again, and then that allows us to finish all of the interior work. So that's a nice schedule, quite descriptive, I would say, and a good amount of detail without being overly ambitious with detail. Let's see what else remains here. Here's another version. So here we're plugging in specific dates, very nice. And here I see we have things grouped. So we have a start date, and then under that we have the contract is signed. We have the permits to work. Then we have category number 2, demo, what it includes, some more demolition, or I'm sorry, demo prep. Good number of chores that need to be done for that. Demo, a couple chores here into excavation, followed by concrete. So another sharp looking schedule, and the lines over here break it down between the category and the tasks that make it up. So, and here one more, obviously way too big that I'm not zooming in and I can't read it. So just again, more and more on the left hand side, stretching out further and further as it goes. Just the more complex the project, obviously the more involved we need the schedule to be. And then finally, this is worth showing. This is kind of best practices general. So after we have an initial schedule, then we should always go back and keep track of exactly what happened in reality. How long did we expect the task to take, and then how long did it actually take, and then we compare the two. So those lessons learned are of critical importance for construction companies. So that's what this shows here. not exactly in terms of, obviously not in terms of a Gantt chart with tasks, but it could easily be applied. This logic just the same. Very important. Okay, so now on to the main event here. So what I would like you to do is to create a short, simple schedule for a conceptual house, which I'm giving you no information about. We're going to say that it takes 7 months to complete. This is a survey of construction for how long it generally takes to build houses in this country. So we see from 6 months up into the colder areas, 9-10 months. So I'm just arbitrarily going to pick, let's build a 7-month schedule. And I'm providing you with a simple Excel document and about 17 different trades. And I just want you to create a schedule that gets you thinking about all the different tasks that need to occur and how they occur, both in kind of time and place, and when conflicts might occur, and when certain tasks need to be finished and other ones need to begin. I'll talk more when we get to the end. Now I'm just going to quickly start with Earthwork and run through the tasks. So each slide represents one task that you need to address. So starting at the top, number 1 is earthwork. We need to remove any earth that is in the way and prep the site for the foundation that's going to follow. Here we see a basement, or what appears as if a full basement's going to occur. Then they're digging out the footings below. Here, perhaps just a slab or a small shallow foundation, and they're digging out for the foundation walls below. Moving on, the foundation arrives. So here we see walls, waterproofing going on before the backfilling. Up here we see the footings. So there, footing in the detail, footings here, followed by the foundation wall, followed by the slab. But we're grouping it all together as the foundation. Rough framing follows. So this is the superstructure. This is above ground as opposed to substructure. The roof goes on. So again, returning to the building envelope, not much is going to happen inside until that building envelope is sealed. If I just turn back here, we do see a picture of a roof. So this is typically how the carpenters will leave it. Rough framing is complete, and there is tar paper on the roof. The carpenters don't put on the roof, but they'll put the tar paper on as a temporary hold for any moisture or snow that will arrive. Then the roofers arrive. They put on the actual roof. Exterior finishes happening at the same time if it's safe and the job site allows for it. Exterior doors and windows probably following the exterior finishes. Then at that point we could say that the exterior seal or the envelope is complete. Rough-ins are now starting. We see the panel going in, electrical rough-ins here, running the wiring, plumbing rough-ins as well, happening at the same time. Again, if time and space permit, those people could work at the same time. Mechanical rough-ins. These are probably in the opposite order. Mechanical is the most important. They have the biggest equipment to install. So typically, if you were being thoughtful, the mechanical contractors would install first, then followed by the plumbing, then followed by the electrical, in respect to the amount of space that their equipment takes up. It would be very difficult for a mechanical contractor to come and attempt to run ducts. There would be compromises if they had to follow and skirt out of the way of all the plumbing and electrical that had already been put in place. Interior finishes would follow. So that's the drywall and everything else to finish it, from paints to tiles. Here we're just grouping them as interior finishes. In a more detailed schedule, there could be several categories. In a big building, many categories. Interior doors, we'll have the partitions. We're saying the interior partitions are complete with the whole framing. That all happens at once. But then the doors come after the drywall's complete. Then our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors. So that's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. I refer to as MEP. So here's electrical, that's the E, Here's plumbing, that's the P, and M is mechanical. So MEP, contractors come back and finish all of their work that happens after the interior finishes. And then we have, is that Bob Vila, that? Installing cabinetry and appliances going in. These are the finishing touches in the kitchen and the bathrooms, connecting the utilities outside, finishing the landscape. And that is it. So that is one way, one, I think, respectable way to break down a small residential construction project. So here they are. I will provide you with this Excel document, and I would like you to take a stab at it. Again, I haven't given you any more specific information about this project than this. So we're going to take these 17 tasks and stretch them out over these 30 weeks and assign 1 or 2 weeks to each task, essentially. 2-week tasks could be foundations, rough framing, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical rough-ins could all take 2 weeks. Cabinetry and appliances, you could give that 2 weeks. Landscape could be 2 weeks. And I would say everything else is 1 week. That was just a quick look at it. But for our purposes, that should be it. So just to give some thought. In general, we're starting here at the top left. Earthwork happens in week 1. Landscape is done here at week 30, and there will be a diagonal connecting the two. So I just want you to give some thought as you move across to which ones happen at the same time, and which ones really need to start and stop, right? We need to finish, I would say we would finish exterior doors and windows and seal that envelope before we begin any of the interior work. I think that's good practice. A lot of the other things could happen at the same time, a fair amount, but then again, it's a small house, so we would want some stagger to it. Again, I was saying here, mechanical rough-in would probably thoughtfully happen before plumbing and electric. So in that regard, I put these 3 out of order, so you could just flip them here. That's not a big deal. Okay, thank you, and good luck with it.